Welcome to Monday Mindset. It is February 16th. Hope you guys had a great weekend, a great Valentine's Day. I want to share with you, I was thinking about, Monday Mindset this morning, what I could share. Last week I wasn't able to join because my wife's grandfather passed away. He lived a great life. He was 90 years old, and now he's with Jesus, which I know he is ecstatic about. But I wanted to share, I was thinking, and of course, always when people, pass away, it causes you to reflect on life. Any big changes, anything that happens in your life causes you to pause for a moment and reflect. And I wrote down, a couple of just different points that I thought would be encouraging to people this morning, especially in your business and in your life, because we're all seeking to improve. We're all seeking to win and get success, whatever that definition of success is for you. Actually, that's not a point I wrote down, but it's a critical point. Have you actually defined what success looks like? I've shared about that before on Monday Mindset Topics. It's really, really important that you share, or that you write and share with yourself and your team what the definition of success looks like. Because obviously, if you don't know what you're aiming for, you'll never really hit it, and you'll never be able to iterate and improve on that. But that's not my main points today. My main points today, I was thinking about, Megan's grandfather, our grandfather, and, some of the advice he had given. And it led me to kind of writing down, a bunch of things that I think will help you in your business. One is, and this is probably the most important, and this came straight out of the best advice that I asked him, hey, what's the best piece of business advice you can give me? Because this guy was like one of those people that you would never know, drove Subaru and an old truck and, is super successful multi-millionaire, but you would never know it at all. And he built this great orchard business and, did a lot of real estate and stuff like that. And this is what he said. He said the key really for him was waking up every day and putting one foot in front of the other. And so I wrote down kind of, if you take that basic principle and you go, what does he mean by that? And then talking to him, I wrote down the mundane wins the market. The mundane wins the market. Most agents are looking for breakthroughs. But top producers, they focus on the basics. And the hardest part about the basics is they're not sexy. They don't feel good. It's kind of a grind. It sucks. You don't really want to do it. You're constantly questioning, is this it? Like, is it just literally picking up these cinder blocks and putting them down? But it is. Like, the people who win are not the people who put together all these fancy, elaborate things. They just focus on the basics. I'll give you two examples that I've seen in my own business. It says we've grown Reminder Media, and over the years, as we've reached different $1 million revenue thresholds, it's been interesting. I've tried to professionalize the business, so I ended up, trying to, get missions and vision down on paper and values, and then I moved to what some would call organizational charts, right? What does your senior leadership team look like? What does your management structure look like? Flow of meetings and cadences and meetings and reporting for each department. And everybody has NPRs, which are minimum performance requirements, and KPIs. And all these things are tools and they can serve a purpose, but it's been so interesting to see that you can make mistakes by over-professionalizing your business, by thinking that there's some magic structure or some way you got to be professionalized to drive results, where really the results are just driven in the day-to-day activity, the mundane, like how many combos did we have today with new potential prospects? How many of our clients did we actually talk to and help today? Just mundane things, nothing fancy. You don't need a massive report for it. You don't need a whole meeting about it. But it's in the mundane that actually drives the business. And as I've gotten further and further into the professionalizing the business, almost corporatizing it, the less and less successful or efficient we are and productive we are. And as I break down and get back more entrepreneurial and just make it about the task and the mundane, that is where we have seen massive improvement and wins happening in our organization. So I just find that interesting in my own story. The other thing I'm thinking is I'm actually in the process of hopefully buying a business right now. Some exciting stuff happening with Reminder Media and what we're doing. It's a new product set, but I was telling the CEO of this business, he's a solopreneur, I was telling him that, if the grind part of the business is successful and can support the business, the mundane part, meaning just the ability to pick up the phone and make 100 phone calls and close a certain amount of prospects that they end up buying from you and continuing on. Like if that grind stand, part of the business works, then this business can be a home run, because all the other things we dream about, the great marketing that generates leads, the great partnerships that we have potential in the pipeline for that we can't know for sure if they're going to come to fruition or not, those things just become icing on the cake. But if the cake, meaning the grind part of the business, literally I wake up today, I pick up the shovel, I put the shovel in the ground, I dig the trench, and if I can build a successful business just off of sheer sweat, then that is a great business. And then all the other things just add leverage and add just opportunity to the business. So all this big kind of rant is just to say the mundane wins in the market. So, if you're seeking like a breakthrough right now, just realize that the breakthrough is probably in the basics. And are you doing the basics well? Number 2 that I wrote down is your pipeline reflects your standards. So, when you get commission breath, it's because you don't have a big enough pipeline. And so much of what sales is confidence, because confidence portrays persuasion and influence to people, and it's very hard to be confident when you don't have a full pipeline. When you're so worried about closing this one deal, it makes you overthink it. It makes you just try to actually squeeze in a way that you don't need to. And so I would say your pipeline reflects your standards, and you need to make sure that you have a full pipeline. If you don't have a full pipeline, you need to be looking at what have you put in as your actual standards that forces you to do the mundane work. And oftentimes I use the quote, I forget who said it, I wish I could give them credit, but I love this quote, which is, you don't get out of life what you expect, you get out of life what you accept. And most of us are accepting way too little from ourselves when it comes to our pipeline management. We don't know how many leads we have in our pipeline. We don't know where they're at in the funnel. We don't know how often we should be reaching out to them. We don't know what emails we should be sending them, what text messages we should be sending them. We don't even have it built out, and we're just waking up every day and we're not actually executing from a standards perspective, and then we wonder why we don't have a full pipeline. So that's another thing I put down. Third thing I put down is and this just came out of reflection with my grandfather Robert passing away, is you're not burned out, you're unclear. You're not burned out, you're unclear. Because when you have someone pass away in your life, or when you have these life events happen, it gives you perspective on eternity, it gives you perspective on just what life is about. And oftentimes we feel like we're burnt out, but it's because we're chasing things that aren't important, and we don't have clarity on what is actually important to us. There's too many distractions happening in our life. We're not focused on the right things. Oftentimes what I have found for myself, I don't know for you guys, what I have found for myself in these moments is I focus way too much on comparison, where it's like I'm comparing myself to others and where they're at in their journey and what phase they're at, and I'm chasing almost comparison more than I'm chasing actually success and how I've defined it. So if you find yourself burned out this morning, I would challenge you to think about, are you clear on what your goals are? Are you clear on what you're trying to accomplish, right? Because when you get to the end of your life, I highly, highly doubt you will care that much how successful you are in terms of money in your bank account, but you will care tremendously on if you actually live the life you wanted to live by doing the things you wanted to do and living the way you wanted to live and spending time with the people you wanted to spend time with. So you're probably not burned out, you're probably just unclear. Fourth thing I wrote down, because this has always been something that I have struggled with, and psychologically you always try to assess yourself, right? And maybe I should go to a therapist. But a lot of times they say that the way you are, it's because of what's happened to you at childhood and different things that have happened. And the fourth thing I wrote down was, stop trying to be liked, start trying to be trusted. Stop trying to be liked, start trying to be trusted. Asking hard questions builds trust. Avoiding radical candor conversations, not being authentic, those things, they detract. They're more about being liked than they're about being trusted. And you can't have true relationships if you don't have a foundation of trust. I would then advocate to even say you won't have good social media content if you don't focus on trust versus being liked, which means you focus on authentic content. You focus on sharing your true thoughts and how you really feel. All these things, I have learned in my life, because I've analyzed myself, I started performing when I was really young, like 12 years old. I think I played my first show and was in a band from like 12 all the way to 19 and played so many shows. And I think from a very early age, I got into performance mode. In performance mode, you want your music to sound good, you want to perform well, and so you're constantly just thinking about, do these people like it, versus do you like it, Luke? Is this who you truly are? Are you doing this because you actually enjoy it? And that ultimately, my belief is, at least this is what I found in my journey at Reminder Media and doing business stuff, is that the more you can just actually care about being trusted and liked, you'll actually become liked by the people you want to be liked by. Now, some people are never going to like you, as they say. What Grant Cardone's famous saying, 50% of the world hates me, 50% likes me, both days I get paid, right? And so you're great marketing, great business, great, I think even being solid in your life and your relationships is kind of like a magnet. You're going to repel people and attract people. But you have to be focused on, hey, I want to be 100% truthful 100% of the time. I want to be trusted more than liked because people know who I am. They know my beliefs. They know what I stand for. And that's harder to execute on than people think. And then last, and this is the fifth thing, this was the last one for today, is momentum is a choice. So momentum is a choice, and I have found that great leaders, they choose momentum, they choose energy, they show up every day excited even when they don't feel it. They bring that energy, and I have found that really, really successful people that I have at least interacted with, it's their ability to withstand adversity and to withstand all the things that are coming at them and maintain a high level of energy, choosing momentum over choosing, paralysis. And oftentimes when you find yourself in a rut, when you find yourself down and out, that's where it takes the most effort to get you back into momentum, because when a rock is at rest, right, it takes the most force to get it moving, but once it starts moving, it's a little bit easier to keep it moving. And so just remember that hey, momentum's a choice. So it starts with you just choosing to be joyful, you choosing to have energy even if you don't feel it, you choosing to do the actions, and then keep choosing it, because it's so much easier if you just keep choosing it is than if you stop. It's kind of like going to the gym. It's so much easier to go to the gym when you consistently go to the gym every day, but we all know you go to the gym, then you don't go one day, it's so much easier not to go the next day. And it's even easier not to go the next day. Before you know it, you haven't been to the gym in weeks because you've lost that momentum. But just remember, momentum's not a feeling, it's a choice. So choose energy today. The greatest leaders can maintain energy at the highest levels, even with massive adversity coming against them. So that's my Monday mindset for you guys today. Hope you had a great weekend. Like I said, I hope this week's even better for you. Get out there and win for you, for your families, for your clients. Let's make it happen. Appreciate you guys.